yeah, I would like to share with you today some of the learnings that I collected during the past year when yeah, leading in a digital environment. And I would like to start with one learning that yeah, came a little bit earlier than the last year. Ready School started in a year where another crisis than the current COVID pandemic crisis arose, a year that was later on called as the refugee crisis. As entrepreneurs, we always try to see solutions where others might see problems. And this is why we were very motivated to find solutions for the over 1.2 million people fleeing to Germany within 2015 and 16. Many of the people who came to Germany were very talented and skilled people that now were longing for a new opportunity to start their lives in Germany. One day, we went to a refugee camp in Berlin and we met a young programmer named Mohammed. Mohammed was since a couple of months now in Germany and told us about his fear of losing his skills since he was not able to take his laptop on the way to Germany. And therefore, he could not continue his programming. He knew that missing out in a fast developing industry like the tech industry can easily leave you behind. So we were thinking, of course, we can organize him a laptop. I still have, I don't know, one old laptop standing at home, but maybe there is more on a sustainable level that we could do together to help people who are in a similar situation as Mohammed is. Back then, there were 43,000 open positions in the IT industry in Germany. Today, this is 124,000 unfilled positions that cost the state of Germany a year around 5 billion euros. When we met the next time with Mohammed, he brought some of his friends and we brought some of our friends out of the tech industry. And together we co-created a concept for a tech school that could lead to what we called win-win-win situation. On the one side, a win situation for the industry to fill those open positions in the IT sector. On the other side, for the society to become more diverse and connected and open. And on the third side, for individuals themselves like Mohammed, who are looking for a new way of starting their lives here. By now, we have developed to a global tech school with locations in Berlin, Munich, in North Rhine-Westphalia, in Duisburg and Maxloh and Düsseldorf and Essen, as well as in Copenhagen, Denmark. And we have taught over 3,000 refugees, migrants and socially marginalized people to start a career in tech. So with that, my first learning would be a crisis can always also be an opportunity. So find the opportunity for yourself and for the team that you are leading. What you can see here also on the picture is two conversations that we found very inspiring with a couple of our students when two very prominent visitors came by. The picture on the right side was established 2 weeks after we founded our school in 2016. When Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook, came by and had a conversation with Rami, who is sitting here on the left side. Rami is from Aleppo, and he was back then only a couple of months based in Germany. And he had really troubles being in touch with his mom, because always when he tried to call her or have video calls, the connection was so bad. So what he was really wondering about and what he asked Mark about was what Mark would think what the future of communication in terms of tech would be. And Mark, you could really see that he was really going into this conversation and really interested to discuss what he thought was the solution to that, virtual reality. So from one moment to the other, it didn't matter anymore that there was a refugee and a billionaire sitting next to each other. It was two geeks discussing technology. And I think that this is something that is very possible in the digital world and makes it very special. On the other picture, you can see Angela Merkel coming by in 2017 and having a conversation with Lama, one of our female students from our women's program, talking about how it is to be a woman in a very male-dominated environment, since Angela Merkel was also one of the only women in physics when she studied. Coming to the second learning, I would call it co-create what works. As you probably experienced yourself as well, is that for many people, the year 2020 went very differently as planned. For us here at Ready in Munich, we were planning to start our semester in the middle of March 2020. At some point, we realized that this might not go as planned when our kickoff that usually takes place at our partners' locations was cancelled, and we saw that the virus started spreading all over Germany, so that it wouldn't be safe anymore to have an event with over 200 people at the same place. For me, this was a very weird moment, and also a insecure moment of leadership, because we were at a situation where we had to prioritize, of course, the health and security of our team, of our community, but at the same time still had the need and the wish to help our students. We knew that it couldn't be either or, but that it really had to be both. So when we decided to move our kickoff and the semester starts 2 weeks ahead, we really tried to come up very fast with solutions that could be working in this new context. 2 days after that, the Bavarian state decided to close all schools, and the lockdown came very early. So one huge trouble that we had was that our students often live in refugee camps and do not necessarily have access to a laptop. Usually we are providing this laptop to them, but since the lockdown came now, we could not hand out laptops to our students in a safe way. So we needed to find another way. Luckily, we have a really strong community. Our teachers, who are all volunteers, are practitioners in the tech industry. And my team comes from a very diverse background, from peace building background over philosophy to neuroscience. And together with our community, we created within 2 weeks a complete program and structure for all students adapted to the needs they had in this very specific situation. So that way, within our women's program, where we mainly teach digital literacy, we created a whole curriculum that could be taught and learned via WhatsApp. Why WhatsApp? Because this is the only tool the women know and can use when they don't have a laptop and have never used a video conferencing system before. For our high-end tech courses, we started to record videos, researched online teaching materials that could make the classes as interactive as possible, and created community support groups. The semester developed, and it came out as one of our most successful semesters when looking at the attendance and fluctuation of our students and teachers. So my learning number 2 is that a co-creative approach to finding the right solution is a very good approach to succeed. During the same time, when the first lockdown started in March 2020, I got a call from our friends and long-term partners at the city of Munich. They called us because they realized that lots of small and medium-sized businesses and shops were closing now, and they were really afraid of them dying, and with it a lot of cultural heritage that comes with having lots of diverse environment in Munich. So what they asked me was if with our community we would be able to find a solution. And what I did during a Saturday morning when I was thinking about this, I sent a post to my social media channels. It was the weekend of the Wir versus Virus hackathon that German-wide arose. And I was thinking of something similar than that, but more connected to the individual needs of the Munich small businesses that were here. So what was really, really fascinating was after I sent this post, I went outside, taking a walk in the park. And a couple of later, I came back and opened my laptop again. And I had really hundreds of comments and private messages coming off from so many people who really wanted to support. And I realized that during a time where you have the feeling that everything is slowed down and everybody is more or less bent to their homes and staying at home, that people not necessarily get slowed out here, but that the urge to do something and be active comes really, really deeply to them. And therefore that everybody really can act and can change something to the better. So during 1 week, together with Unternehmertum, which is a consultancy here in Munich, and the city of Munich, we then built a 24 hours live event where we connected the small businesses that we recruited with experts out of the industry, such as designers, developers, consultants, to work on bringing the businesses into the digital world, so that they could survive the time period when they couldn't open their businesses. We called this initiative Wir gehen online. And the outcomes were really impressive, from building an online shop up to developing new business models, such as virtual breathing exercises from physiotherapists for corona patients. There was really everything in it. And at the end of this 24 hours, there were 21 completely implemented solutions. And this was really, really impressive to us. What was really great as well was that we got a lot of support from the whole Munich community, not only like around 300 supporters, but also Oliver Kahn approached us and opened up the whole event. And Dorothee Beer, the digital minister, she sent us an inspirational video for our participants. And a couple of days later, the Bayerischer Rundfunk came by to interview us around this. So this was really, one of the biggest learnings that I had is that, through a really little gesture of sending a post out in the world and asking people to get active and involved, something really cool can arise of it, and everybody can somehow make a difference. Continuing on this, I would like to share with you my journey to Ready School. This picture here arose, I think, 2016, when I moved to Berlin after I graduated from my bachelor's degree in business. And I wanted to gather some experience in the startup industry. So I started an internship at a startup incubator, Hubraum, from the Deutsche Telekom. And I moved to Berlin and started gathering some experiences. What happened there was that I was living for the first time on my own in a one room apartment, and I was working instead of studying like before. And at some point, I really felt that this was very different than my previous experiences. I lived already in Shanghai and Dublin and in a couple of other cities, but somehow in Berlin, I could not manage to connect right away with the city and everything. So I was really looking for ways of how I could meet people and trying out different things, such as going to meetups or participating in sport groups. But at some point, I started meeting with a homeless person to help him with some bureaucracy. And I really felt that this was changing something in my life and also in his life. So I really got into volunteering. I started to help out at homeless shelters and supported homework groups for kids. And finally, I asked Ready School, who was back then in the co-working space of the place where I worked, if I could do something even though I was not a techie. And from then onwards, I went there every Saturday and helped out to start the first women's program pilot. It happened that it was really long days and lots of things to do during a weekend. But every time that I went back home, I was so happy and grateful that I could do something good and had so much fun with it. So when my gap year came to an end, the opportunity came with it to bring the school to my hometown, to Munich. And I was just so, grateful that through an opportunity of doing what I like and doing something that I'm passionate about, this opportunity arose. So that I could even have kind of my dream job at the age of 23. So why am I telling that in the context of digital leadership? I think that volunteering can be a complete treatment for yourself and maybe also for you and your teams, especially during a time where everybody feels a little bit low of energy. I think it can give you a lot of passion back and energy back. And I mean, right now, there are so many great opportunities of doing good around the world. This is the perfect starting point. And of course, if you're looking for a concrete possibility of volunteering, we also always have some volunteering opportunities at Ready. My fifth learning that I wanted to share is to learn and grow together with your team. So at Ready, we are still a startup, but we have developed from a one-man show to a 5-women show, and by now we are 60 people in our all locations, only of the Ready staff. In Munich, 3 years ago, when I started, I was the only teammate I had. And this year, we will be 20 full-time people in my team. So, of course, this is not super big, but it is bigger than before. And I think one of the essential things when growing as a company is to try and keep the spirit alive that you have in your team. And especially through in times where you cannot meet personally, this is becoming an even more challenge. So when in the start of the lockdown, we did a lot of happy hours, coffee breaks, and all those digital events that we thought that could help us to stay close and connected to each other. But at some point, these meetings stopped because we were all really happy if we could just step out of the virtual world at some point in the end of the day. Something that worked really well for us was a weekly training session that we started to do together with two facilitators from Brazil. These two facilitators were coming from the conflict resolution and peace building, and they were experts in nonviolent communication. And in those 6 weeks of training, they took our complete team through a personal journey of learning about this method, but also reflecting on ourselves and on everything, how the situation is for all of us. And even though these meetings were also virtual, there was a difference. We did this during our working time and had it blocked from other things to do during that time. And the special thing about this was that even though it was a training, it felt more like, let's say, group therapy, and had to do a lot with ourselves and how we could overcome some challenges that would arouse during our lives. So this is something that I can highly recommend, to get on a learning journey together with your team for a regular basis. I think it grows the togetherness, and at the same time, it also helps you get through this and learn something new. And of course, it doesn't have to be this topic, but it can be anything that might be relevant for you and your teams. Something that I wanted to share out of this workshop that we did was the practice of authentic and empathic leadership. I think in general, this is something that not only for the digital leadership, but in general is very relevant for the leader of 2021, let's say. As my sixth learning, I would ask to implement this into the way you're leading. So what I did during this year, and also during the workshop that we did, was kind of reflecting on the leader that I am, and I was thinking that when I started, I was 23, and my team has grown over the years, and now we are around 20 people, and I'm still the youngest. So most of the people who are in my team are more experienced than I am, and I was questioning myself, am I still at the right point here, or what is actually the role that a leader should have? And I think that this is something that everybody should ask themselves. What is leadership for yourself, and how can you be with your personality and the person that you are, lead in an authentic and working way for yourself. I want to share with you 2 examples of what I think are easy ways of how you can create a more authentic and empathic work environment. Those are really simple things, but I think very effective. So one thing that we implemented is to start each meeting with check-ins and with check-outs. So, for example, if I would do that today in this meeting, having with all of you, I would say that I am arriving here right now a little bit nervous, a little bit tired from all the snow and the darkness out there, and that I really am hoping that you guys can take something from what I'm saying here, and that this is not a waste of time, but that I'm really appreciative about the opportunity also to share this, and that I'm trying now to put this away and arrive exactly in this moment. Check in. The same thing you can do at the end of each meeting, and of course, this demands everybody who participates to be open for that. We have in our team sometimes, I'm not saying that this is a general thing, but some of our guys are not always very into that. But what I can see is that with time, it is becoming a beloved tradition, and that I feel like it is bringing us together and really, lets everybody arrive in the moment in a way that, we are sharing with each other how it is right now, and gives everybody a little bit more of understanding. Another topic that or another method that we have implemented is, I don't know if you have ever had the feeling going out of a meeting and wondered about what the meeting exactly was about and why the person who started this meeting invited you, or if you ever got feedback after a meeting that made you question if the other person really was present in the meeting because they did not get anything that you wanted to say. Well, I think that this happens on a very regular basis and lots of times. This is why we started using a technique that came also from the nonviolent communication workshop. So, for example, when somebody raises a topic in a meeting, you can say right after, if you're not sure if you got what that person really said, I heard you saying that you wanted to share X. Did I hear you right? And this seems like a very easy technique, but it's really, for me, life-changing, because I would have never expected that I can get things so much wrong, but also at the same time, by checking with the person, you give the possibility that the person can add up on what they were saying or straighten up things, and at the same time that everybody participating in that meeting really knows what this is about. So yeah, I found this very helpful. One of the biggest things that have changed in 2020 is probably the approach of how businesses think about the working space by now. Before the pandemic, companies like Google or Microsoft or whoever tried to make the workspace as much home as possible. At Google, for example, you could bring your dirty laundry, have chef cooks your meal all day. You could play basketball in the courtyard, whatever you wanted. This year, this change in our workplace is now also our home. So while before we brought our home to work, we now bring our work home. And this brings me to the next learning point, which I think is really, really important during the current times for yourself, but especially for being a leader, to really respect barriers of this, the ones that you have, the ones that your team has, because no matter if your team are parents and do homeschooling at home, or if they are singles that now are constantly alone at home, everybody needs to adjust to the current changes in their own pace and ways. And by setting your own barriers, for example, through blocking time for lunch in your calendar or shutting your phone off at a certain moment, you can be a role model to your team and make it easier for them also to find their own barriers and new routines. Creating an atmosphere where it is okay to say that you are not okay or that this is too much, it will make the situation easier for everybody. My nearly last learning that I wanted to share with you today is to use the opportunity of being online. I was talking last week to a couple of teachers from Bavarian schools because I was creating a concept for the Bavarian state of a potential train-the-trainer concept. And what I heard the most from them was that they were really stuck with the learning plans that they got from the state. Within the last year, the books and learning materials still haven't been translated into an online learning environment, and the teachers are proceeding with the learning cultures they used to do in offline classes. But they see that this has problems, for example, that students are muting each other's or even the teachers during classes, something that probably everybody would have done at 14 years old. And I believe that this is happening in many areas right now. Many people are trying to do everything the same way they would have done it face-to-face in the digital world. But what I believe is that this is not only very exhausting for everybody, but that there are also so many great ways of creating new opportunities for being online. You can invite speakers from all around the world to inspire your students. You can use games, collaborative tools, platforms that make classes or meetings more fun, interactive, and effective. And you can reach people that you would have never thought to see you. Like this post that we shared where 2 of our students were featured with their stories in a Microsoft blog, and we got the notification that Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, tweeted about this article. So with that, use the opportunity of being online. And at the end of the day, I think it is really important to remember that we're still in a pandemic and that lives are not easy right now. So my last learning would really be to take breaks and have fun in between. The way that it works for yourself and for your teams. And with that being said, there's only one thing to say, thank you. I would like to share with you a video that we created last year to say thank you to our community, where you can also meet my team.
Muchas gracias. आपका बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद.
Shukran jazila.
Спасибо.
Khayli mamnoon.
Благодаря ви.
Merci beaucoup.
Shukran. Obrigada.
Thank you. Arigato gozaimashita.
David.
خیلی ممنون. Muchísimas gracias.
Dankeschön.
அனைவருக்கும் நன்றி மற்றும் எனது வணக்கங்கள்.
Tashakkur.
Tusind tak.
All right, thank you so much, Sophie, especially for the last video. It was very interesting how diverse your team is, very sympathetic. You know what I mean? I would love to work together with you, to be honest. All right, guys, so it's your turn now. Does anyone has a question? So please just push the button with the hand and then you are ready to unmute yourself. Yes, Tobias. So.
Hi guys, hi Sophie. Thanks for the interesting presentation. Really cool what you guys done there. I have a question about the solutions that you actually created. You said you created about 21 solutions within one real short period of time. Could you comment a little more on what you created there and like how it helped the small local companies a little bit?
Thank you so much. Yes, of course. So, I mean, many of the solutions that arose were, of course, like web shops, because what we realized is that many traditional shops that are in the pedestrian zones or something not usually have their own web shops online, because usually the people are really coming just by window shopping, right? But at the same time, this was supported, for example, through how can I create a social media campaign that my web shop is actually being seen, yeah? So those were some of the solutions. Other solutions really were kind of like seeing, okay, what new business model could there be for smaller businesses that are now not having the chance to interact with their normal customers. And one example of that was, for example, a physiotherapist. And I found that this was a really interesting approach, because, of course, physiotherapists couldn't go anymore to their customers, but they were essential, for example, for corona patients to recover from their symptoms. And one physiotherapist that we were working with, she created those like breathing exercises that you could easily do when watching the videos or when interacting with her, so that she could help also on a digital way to fulfill this purpose of recovering. I think it went into those two directions. So either seeing how we can actually come up with new ideas of business models for people where it wasn't working to transfer it in the digital world, or for digitalization. You get me. Digitizing the products and services of the small businesses.
Okay, can I do just one follow-up on that?
Sure.
So the other question was, like, now you actually had quite a bit of experience on supporting like local solutions and individual solutions. On the other hand, especially when you look at teaching issues, I just see that a lot of students, for example, they when they use digital support, they go rather on YouTube, for example, and just watch online explanations for math and stuff like that. Did you guys also go a little bit into that topic, that you, especially in the digitalization world, that you don't need to do everything individually, but still you don't want to lose that personal touch, staying in contact with your students, and so that kind of mixture of both advantages?
Yes, definitely, and I really like this point, because I think it shows exactly, or it is what I wanted to express with one of the points, saying that using the opportunity of being online is really something that many people are not doing yet. So, for example, also the teachers that I've been talking with, they just follow the normal offline kind of way of how they would teach, even though there are, exactly as you say, so many ways of making it maybe also more fun for the students to be willing to learn. And what I could see here is, for example, one important point that I think there is that if we look at online curricula and learning journeys where students are completely by themselves, we have a huge cancel rate, right? Like, I think it's over 90% of people who are starting an online learning journey that are actually canceling it without ending it. So the advantage here is really that you have a guided learning journey, so you can get kind of the best out of both worlds, of the online world, using videos, tutorials, and everything, but at the same time also the individual support that you maybe need when you are stuck in everything. So I think that this is something very sustainable to try to develop more hybrid concepts of getting the best out of both worlds.
All right, so we're happy to hear the next question. If there is anyone with a question. If not, I would like to ask a question. So you were talking a lot about mistakes which are made. That's the reason why you told us about the 10 main learnings you did within the last year. So what is the biggest mistake in your opinion? What some corporates or leaders are still doing in your opinion? So like the most urgent one to solve with the biggest impact on everything.
When we did the check-in, I saw that the most used word for digital leadership to describe it, or what is important about it, was trust. And I think this is also what could be the biggest mistake of leaders to not trust their employees at this moment. Because of course, if everybody is working from home, you cannot control everything, and you cannot be there at all times. So I think you should definitely find a way of trusting. And I think also if you as an employee realize that your leader is trusting in yourself and in the way that you do your job, that just gives you way more motivation and everything than being controlled and not trusted.
Yes, definitely. I totally agree to that. So I think it was kind of your last point, be creative and support your relationships between leaders and employees. Is that if there's no trust at all, could this be a beginning to find a trust base, to do more activities like, I don't know, there are a lot of offerings of online games, for example, Among Us, stuff like that. I heard about it. Would you recommend this to make the first step in the right direction?
Yes, definitely it can be a way, but I mean, I think everybody has to find out what also works in their kind of work environment, because it can come super unauthentic also if you're starting in a very stiff environment to play games, and I don't know, nobody really wants it, right?
Yeah,
but I think it also goes a little bit in the direction of what I was saying about authentic leadership. I think if you start from your perspective to be open about how you're feeling, how the whole situation is going for yourself, that this will give trust on the other side for your team to be open and transparent about their needs and about their struggles. And I think this could be a good way of creating that trust within teams.
Yeah, thank you for your answer. Does anyone else have another question?
Oh.
Yes, Stefan.
Hi, I'm interested in how you collect all the feedback. Actually, it's not to be creative, but on the other hand, you need to see did the people get their idea of learning? Do they reach their goals? Are they faster or slower than I thought? And how do you figure out how is that working?
Are you now talking about our students? So how do we collect feedback from the students that we are providing classes to, or more in a team environment?
My perspective is more from the students' part, because I'm a co-founder of Coder Dojo in Nuremberg. So we have children, and we teach children how to code actually.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool.
they're more students.
Super nice, cool. So this is something that we have been working on a lot, because we also have a kids and youth program. And what we think is that especially with kids and youth, it is super important to be as playful as possible with this. Because if you do like open feedback rounds, it's usually like, oh, I liked everything very much. And so this is maybe not as effective as you would wish feedback for. So what we're doing, I don't know if you know, for example, Kahoot. It is a online quiz platform where you can super easily create quizzes. So after each session that we are doing with our students in the Kids and Youth program, we do a small quiz where they can, where there are questions around the lesson that we just had. And you see, like, you know, who answers the questions the fastest, and you can see like how the progress is with each question that you're putting out there. And it was a very good feedback system for us, but also for the students to see, okay, what did we actually take away from this lesson here today? And also a very good way to see if something needs to be changed. You can also put in quizzes like or questions about teaching method or the other classmates, if anybody was disturbing or if something was disturbing your learning progress or something. So I think this is a very good way to do that. I can send it into
that sounds great. How is it spelled actually?
Sorry?
How's it spelled?
Kahoot. I
Kahoot.
just send it into the chat.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much.
All right. Anyone else who wants to ask something to Sophie? If not, I have another kind of closing question, if that's all right for you. So maybe it would be interesting, what was the hardest lesson learned you ever did or have to go through, and what was the most beautiful moment of your journey?
Okay, let me think. So the hardest lesson that I learned is probably to let go. I think especially if you are developing your role in a way that I did, where in the start I was doing everything and now I'm more on a or less on an operational level, but more on a overall perspective maybe of the team. I think it's really hard sometimes to let go and let your team do it in the way that they are doing it. And I think this also goes into what we just discussed before, developing the trust to your team, to that they are the experts on their fields and that they will do it right. So this is something that that of course takes a little bit, and that is not always easy. And the most joyful thing, or what was the question? The most
Yes, beautiful, or the most joyful thing, yeah. In your journey.
I'm not sure if it's the most of all, but I think everything connected to our community, where we really can see the impact of what we are doing is very joyful, because of course this is where we are working towards. And if we get messages from students that found a job, and when they tell us what this means in their lives and how their lives changed through being self-empowered and independent from others, it means a lot. And I think this is what always keeps me up and what always brings me a lot of joy.
I think so. This perfect. So I think touching another life in a positive way is one of the most beautiful things you can have in life. And yes, I think those words were the perfect closing words. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand now. Otherwise, yes, I would like to thank you, Sophie, for your for everything, for being here. Thank you for your time and your knowledge you shared with us today. I have one last request towards our attendees. We want to, of course, improve ourselves and our online events. So it would be perfect if you would click the link my colleague is posting into the chat regarding our feedback. So just, it's a very short feedback, but it would help us a lot to improve ourselves and further develop this whole program. And yes, so if you could do that, we would be very happy. And yeah, otherwise, I hope you have a nice evening and enjoyed this event as much as I did. And I hope to welcome you to the next one as well. So yeah, thank you to all of you.
Thank you very much for inviting me and for being here
You're
tonight.
always welcome. It was a pleasure. All right.